Hey everyone, and welcome back to Learn English with Claire. I am Claire.
And I am Daniel. So good to be back with all of you today.
Before we get into today's episode, we want to say a huge hello to every single person listening from around the world right now. We have listeners from so many different countries, and it genuinely never gets old.
It really does not. So right now, before we do anything else, go to the comments and tell us where you were listening from. Just your city or your country, that is it. 2 seconds, drop it down there right now.
We read every single comment, and we love seeing all those different locations. So go ahead and leave yours while we get started.
And today is a big one.
It really is. Today, we are talking about how to talk about your career in English. 100 essential phrases covering every situation. Job interviews, talking about your experience, discussing your goals, handling career changes, networking, and so much more.
And I think what makes this topic so important is that career conversations in English are not just about vocabulary. They're about confidence. Knowing the right phrase at the right moment can be the difference between getting the job and not getting the job.
Between making a strong impression and leaving someone unsure about you. Between sounding like someone who knows their worth and someone who is still figuring out how to express it.
Which is exactly where a lot of English learners find themselves. They have the skills, they have the experience, but the language to express all of that in English is just not there yet.
And that is what we are fixing today. So stay with us because this episode is packed.
And after the episode, 2 things in the comments. First, tell us where you were listening from. Second, drop 2 English phrases from today that you want to remember. Writing them down helps your brain hold on to them much longer.
All right, Daniel, before we jump in, how are you doing? Because you look like you have been thinking about something.
I have, actually. So I was going through some old photos on my phone last night, and I came across a photo from my very first job interview. I was 22 years old, wearing a suit that was honestly a little too big for me.
We've all been there.
And I remember sitting in that waiting room thinking, I have prepared everything. I know my answers, I know my experience, but then the interviewer walked in, sat down, and said, "So, tell me about yourself." And my brain just went completely blank.
Tell me about yourself. The most common interview question in the world and also somehow the hardest to answer.
Because nobody tells you how to answer it. Nobody teaches you the actual language. They just say, prepare for it without giving you the words.
Which is exactly why we are here today, because career English is not something that gets taught in most classrooms, but it is absolutely essential for anyone who wants to grow professionally in an English-speaking environment.
Whether you're job hunting, networking, asking for a promotion, or just trying to talk about what you do with confidence, today is for you.
Let's get into it. So, Daniel, let's start with the question that trips almost everyone up. Tell me about yourself. How do you answer it well?
I always feel like people either say way too much or way too little.
Exactly. The key is to have a clear and confident structure. Think of it as a 3-part answer: where you've been, where you are now, and where you are going. This is sometimes called the past, present, future structure.
Okay, so give me an example of how that sounds.
Sure, you might say, I've spent the last 5 years working in marketing, where I focused on digital campaigns and content strategy. Currently, I'm leading a small team at a tech company where we manage social media and brand partnerships. Going forward, I'm really interested in moving into a more strategic role where I can combine my creative background with data analysis.
Wow, that's so clean. Past, present, future. It tells a story without rambling.
And it ends with a forward-looking statement which shows ambition and direction. Let's practice the structure. I've spent the last 5 years working in marketing. Currently, I'm leading a small team. Going forward, I'm interested in moving into a more strategic role.
Add natural speed. I've spent the last 5 years working in marketing. Currently, I'm leading a small team. Going forward, I'm interested in moving into a more strategic role. Perfect.
And here's a tip. The phrase going forward is incredibly useful in career conversations. It means from this point on or in the future. For example, going forward, I want to focus on leadership. Or going forward, I'm hoping to expand into international markets.
Going forward. I love that phrase. It sounds so intentional and professional.
It does. Now let's talk about how to describe your work experience, because this comes up constantly in interviews, in networking conversations, in performance reviews.
And I think a lot of people just list their job titles without actually communicating what they did or why it mattered.
Which is the biggest missed opportunity. So instead of just saying, I was a project manager, you say, in my role as project manager, I was responsible for overseeing a team of 8 people and delivering projects on time and within budget.
So you add the what and the impact.
Always. Here are some powerful phrases for describing your experience. I was responsible for. For example, I was responsible for managing client relationships across 3 key accounts, or I was responsible for developing training materials for new team members.
I was responsible for. That phrase takes ownership of what you did.
Another strong one, I played a key role in. For example, I played a key role in launching the company's new product line, or I played a key role in reducing operational costs by 15%.
I played a key role in. That sounds collaborative, but still highlights your contribution.
And here's one more. I gained significant experience in. For example, I gained significant experience in client-facing communication during my time at the agency. Or I gained significant experience in data analysis, which I am now applying to my current role.
I gained significant experience in. That one is great because it frames everything as a learning journey, not just a list of tasks.
Let's practice. I played a key role in launching the company's new product line.
At Natural Speed, I played a key role in launching the company's new product line. Excellent. Okay, now let's talk about something that comes up in almost every career conversation, your strengths. How do you talk about what you're good at without sounding arrogant?
This is such a real challenge because in some cultures, talking about your own strengths feels uncomfortable or even boastful. But in professional English settings, especially in interviews, you're expected to advocate for yourself clearly and confidently.
So how do you do it naturally?
The key is to connect your strength to a real example. Never just say, I'm a good communicator. Instead, say, one of my strengths is communication. In my last role, I regularly presented project updates to senior stakeholders, and I received consistent feedback that I made complex information easy to understand.
So you state the strength and then immediately prove it with evidence.
Always. Here are some useful phrases for talking about strengths. 1. Of my greatest strengths is, for example, one of my greatest strengths is problem solving. I tend to stay calm under pressure and focus on finding practical solutions.
I tend to. That phrase softens the self-promotion slightly.
Exactly. I tend to is a natural and humble way to describe your consistent behavior. For example, I tend to take the initiative when I see a gap. Or I tend to be the person people come to when they need help thinking through a challenge.
I tend to take the initiative. Let us practice that. One of my greatest strengths is problem solving. I tend to stay calm under pressure and focus on finding practical solutions.
At Natural Speed, one of my greatest strengths is problem solving. I tend to stay calm under pressure and focus on finding practical solutions. Perfect.
What about talking about weaknesses? Because that question also comes up all the time.
And people either say something fake, like, I work too hard, or I care too much, or they say something genuinely damaging. Neither is good.
I work too hard. I have definitely said that before.
Everyone has. The real approach is to choose a genuine area of development and immediately show what you're doing about it. For example, one area I've been working on is delegating more effectively. I used to try to handle everything myself, but I've been learning to trust my team more, and I've seen a real improvement in both my productivity and the team's confidence.
So you're honest, you show self-awareness, and you demonstrate growth.
Exactly. The phrase I've been working on is perfect here because it shows you're actively improving. Another good structure is something I'm actively developing is, for example, something I'm actively developing is my public speaking skills. I joined a speaking group 6 months ago and I've already presented at 2 company events.
Something I'm actively developing is. Something I am actively developing is my public speaking skills. I joined a speaking group 6 months ago. At Natural Speed, Something I'm actively developing is my public speaking skills. I joined a speaking group 6 months ago. Excellent.
Let's now talk about something that's incredibly important, but often overlooked. How do you talk about your career goals?
The famous, "Where do you see yourself in 5 years?" question.
Which terrifies people, but it's actually a great opportunity if you know how to answer it.
What is the right approach?
You want to show ambition without sounding like you're only thinking about your next step. The key is to connect your goals to the organization you're in or the role you want. For example, in the next few years, I'm hoping to develop my leadership skills and take on more strategic responsibilities. Ideally, I'd love to be in a role where I'm mentoring others and contributing to the bigger direction of the team.
Ideally, I would love to be. That phrase is ambitious but not demanding.
Exactly. It shows desire without pressure. Here are some more useful phrases for talking about goals. My long-term goal is to... For example, my long-term goal is to move into a management role where I can develop people as well as deliver results.
My long-term goal is to... Clean and direct.
I'm passionate about, for example, I'm passionate about building products that solve real problems, or I'm passionate about creating inclusive workplace environments. This phrase shows genuine motivation behind your goals.
I'm passionate about. That's much more compelling than I want to or I would like to.
Because it tells people why, and the why is what people remember. Here's one more. I'm working toward... For example, I'm working toward becoming a certified project manager, or I'm working toward building enough experience to start my own consultancy one day.
I'm working toward. That shows you're not just dreaming, you're actively moving. Let's practice. Slowly and clearly, my long-term goal is to move into a management role where I can develop people as well as deliver results.
At natural speed, my long-term goal is to move into a management role where I can develop people as well as deliver results. Perfect.
Okay, now let's talk about something that a lot of people find really awkward. Talking about a career change, because more and more people are switching industries or roles, and explaining it in a way that sounds confident rather than confused is a real skill.
And the fear is always the same. People think, if I changed careers, it looks like I didn't know what I was doing, or it looks unstable. But that's not true at all.
How do you frame a career change positively?
You focus on the transferable skills, the things you learned in your previous role that directly apply to your new direction. For example, although my background is in finance, the analytical and problem-solving skills I developed there translate very naturally to data science, which is the direction I'm now moving in.
Translate very naturally to. That's a powerful phrase.
Very powerful. It creates a bridge between your past and your present. Here are some more useful phrases. My experience in blank has given me a strong foundation in blank. For example, my experience in teaching has given me a strong foundation in communication and curriculum design, which I'm now applying to corporate training.
So you take what might look like a completely unrelated background and show how it actually connects to where you're going.
Always. Every experience teaches you something valuable. The skill is in articulating how it connects to where you're going. Here's another phrase. I made a deliberate decision to transition into, for example, I made a deliberate decision to transition into the nonprofit sector because I wanted my work to have a more direct social impact.
I made a deliberate decision. That phrase removes any sense of drift or confusion. It shows intention.
Exactly. And intention is everything in a career conversation. Let's practice. Slowly and clearly, my experience in teaching has given me a strong foundation in communication and curriculum design, which I'm now applying to corporate training.
At natural speed, my experience in teaching has given me a strong foundation in communication, which I'm now applying to corporate training. Excellent.
Now let's talk about networking, because so much of career growth happens through the conversations you have with people, not just the applications you send.
And networking in English can feel very unnatural if you don't have the right phrases, because you don't want to sound like you're reading from a script, but you also don't want to go blank in the middle of an important conversation.
So let's give you the phrases that make networking feel natural. The first thing you need is a strong way to introduce yourself professionally, beyond just saying your name and job title.
So not just, "Hi, I'm Daniel, I work in marketing."
Right. You want to give a little more context. You say, "Hi, I'm Daniel. I work in digital marketing with a focus on content strategy and brand storytelling. I'm currently exploring opportunities in the tech industry."
So name, what you do, your specialty, and where you're headed.
That whole sentence takes about 10 seconds, but it gives the other person so much more to connect with. And here's a useful follow-up question after you introduce yourself. What about you? What brings you here today? Or what are you currently working on?
What are you currently working on? That's such a natural conversation opener.
And it shows genuine interest. Here are some more networking phrases. "It's great to connect with you. I've been following your work and I really admire how you blank."
That's a very powerful opener when you're talking to someone you've been watching or learning from.
Yes. For example, "It's great to connect with you. I've been following your podcast and I really admire how you make complex topics so accessible."
And then they feel seen and appreciated, which makes the whole conversation warmer immediately.
Exactly. And here's a phrase when you want to follow up after meeting someone. "It was so great speaking with you today. I'd love to stay in touch. Would you be open to connecting on LinkedIn?"
Would you be open to? That's very polite. It gives the other person the choice without any pressure.
Always. In networking, you never pressure, you invite. Let's practice. Slowly and clearly. "It was so great speaking with you today. I'd love to stay in touch. Would you be open to connecting on LinkedIn?" At natural speed. "It was so great speaking with you today. I'd love to stay in touch. Would you be open to connecting on LinkedIn?" Perfect.
All right. Now let's go deep on the vocabulary, because we used some really important words and phrases throughout this episode that are essential for career conversations in English.
Let's break them all down. First phrase, "going forward," you used early on.
Going forward means from this point in time onward. It's used to signal future plans or intentions. For example, "Going forward, I want to focus more on strategic planning." Or, "Going forward, the team will meet weekly instead of monthly." It's used constantly in professional English in both spoken and written communication.
Going forward. Very versatile. Can you use it outside of career conversations? Absolutely. Going forward, we will need to reconsider our approach. Or, going forward, please send all requests to the new email address. It works in any context where you are signaling a change or a direction for the future.
Good. Next phrase, transferable skills.
Transferable skills are abilities and knowledge you have developed in one context that can be applied in a different context. For example, communication, leadership, problem solving, and organization are all transferable skills because they are valuable in almost any industry or role.
So if you are changing careers, transferable skills are what you lean on to explain why your past experience still matters.
Exactly. For example, although I am moving from teaching to corporate training, my transferable skills in communication and curriculum design make me well suited for this transition.
Transferable skills, a phrase every job seeker needs to know. Next word, advocate. You said advocate for yourself.
To advocate for yourself means to speak up on your own behalf, to make sure your needs, contributions, and goals are known and recognized. For example, in a performance review, you need to advocate for yourself by highlighting your achievements. Or, she learned to advocate for herself during salary negotiations.
So advocacy is not aggression. It's just being clear and confident about your own value.
Perfectly said. And in professional English, it is not only acceptable to advocate for yourself, it's expected. The noun form is advocacy. For example, self-advocacy is one of the most important career skills you can develop.
Self-advocacy. Good. Next phrase, stakeholders.
Stakeholders are the people who have an interest or investment in a project, decision, or organization. For example, we need to present this proposal to key stakeholders before we move forward. Or, keeping stakeholders informed is a critical part of project management.
So stakeholders are not just your boss. They could be clients, investors, team members, or anyone affected by what you're doing.
Exactly. And knowing how to use this word signals that you understand how organizations work. You're not just thinking about your own task, you're thinking about who it affects.
Stakeholders. Great word. Next phrase. Take the initiative.
To take the initiative means to do something without being asked, to recognize what needs to be done and do it proactively. For example, she took the initiative to update the team handbook even though it was not her assigned task. Or, I tend to take the initiative when I see a problem that needs solving.
So taking the initiative is the opposite of waiting to be told.
Exactly, and bosses love it. It shows ownership, drive, and a genuine investment in the work. The noun form is initiative. For example, she showed a lot of initiative in her first month. Or, I appreciate your initiative in reaching out before the meeting.
I appreciate your initiative. That's a great thing to say to someone. And a great thing to hear.
It really is. Next phrase, mentor and mentee.
These come up a lot in career conversations.
Yes, a mentor is someone more experienced who guides and advises someone less experienced. A mentee is the person receiving that guidance. For example, I've been fortunate to have a great mentor who helped me navigate my early career. Or, as a mentor, I try to share both my successes and my failures because both are equally valuable.
And to mentor someone is the verb form.
Exactly. She mentors 3 junior team members. Or, I'm looking for an opportunity to mentor others as part of my leadership development.
Mentor, mentee, to mentor. All very useful in career conversations. Next word. Leverage.
To leverage something means to use it to your advantage, to get maximum value from something you already have. For example, I'm looking to leverage my background in finance to move into consulting. Or, we can leverage our existing client relationships to grow into new markets.
So leverage is about using what you already have strategically.
Exactly. And it's a very impressive word in career conversations because it signals strategic thinking. Instead of saying, I want to use my skills, you say, I want to leverage my skills. Same meaning, but much more professional.
I want to leverage my skills. The difference is subtle, but it matters. Last vocabulary word, milestone.
A milestone is a significant achievement or stage in a process. It marks progress toward a larger goal. For example, getting my first management role was a major milestone in my career. Or, completing this certification will be an important milestone for me.
So milestones are the markers along the journey, not the destination itself.
Perfectly said. And in career conversations, talking about your milestones is a powerful way to show growth and trajectory. For example, over the past 3 years, I have hit several key milestones, including leading my first cross-functional team and managing a project with a budget of over $100,000.
Over the past 3 years, I've hit several key milestones. That sounds so strong and confident.
It does, and it tells a story of progress, which is exactly what you want in any career conversation. All right, let's do a complete summary of everything we covered today. Every phrase, every situation, all organized clearly so you can go back and use it.
Starting with telling your story.
Use the past, present, future structure, where you've been, where you are now, and where you're going. Open with, I have spent the last blank years doing blank. Then say, currently I'm doing blank. And close with, going forward, I'm hoping to, or I'm working toward.
Describing your experience.
Use I was responsible for to show ownership. I played a key role in to show contribution. And I gained significant experience in to show learning. Always add the impact or the result, not just the task.
Talking about strengths.
Use one of my greatest strengths is, followed immediately by a real example. Use I tend to describe consistent positive behaviors. And always connect your strength to a specific situation where it made a difference.
Talking about weaknesses.
Use I've been working on or something I'm actively developing is, choose a genuine area of growth, show self-awareness, and always demonstrate what you're doing to improve. Never fake a weakness and never share something genuinely damaging.
Talking about career goals.
Use my long-term goal is to, I'm passionate about, and I'm working toward. Connect your goals to the organization or role you're discussing. Show ambition, but also show how your goals align with the bigger picture.
Explaining a career change.
Use transferable skills as your bridge. Say, my experience in blank has given me a strong foundation in blank. Use translate very naturally to show how your past connects to your future. And use I made a deliberate decision to transition into to show intention rather than drift.
Networking.
Introduce yourself with name, what you do, your specialty, and your direction. Use what are you currently working on as a natural conversation opener. Say, it's great to connect with you, followed by something specific and genuine. And close with, it was so great speaking with you. Would you be open to connecting on LinkedIn?
And the key vocabulary words for career conversations are going forward, transferable skills, advocate, stakeholders, take the initiative, mentor and mentee, leverage, and milestone. All of these words will make you sound more professional and more confident in any career conversation.
That's a complete toolkit for talking about your career in English, from your very first interview to a senior-level networking event.
Now, this is our absolute favorite part, the question of the day.
And today's question connects directly to your own real career journey. We want to know about you.
Our question of the day is this. What is the most difficult part of talking about your career in English? And which phrase from today will you use in your next career conversation?
Here's your comment template. Fill in the blanks. The most difficult part of talking about my career in English is blank, and the phrase I will use is blank. For example, the most difficult part of talking about my career in English is answering "tell me about yourself" without rambling, and the phrase I will use is the past, present, future structure, starting with "I have spent the last blank years."
Or, the most difficult part of talking about my career in English is explaining my career change without sounding confused, and the phrase I'll use is my experience in blank has given me a strong foundation in blank.
Or maybe the most difficult part of talking about my career in English is networking, because I never know how to start a conversation, and the phrase I will use is "what are you currently working on?"
Every answer is valid, every challenge is real, and every one of you is further along than you think. So go to the comments right now and write your answer using the template.
The most difficult part of talking about my career in English is blank, and the phrase I will use is blank.
We read every single comment, and honestly, they inspire us more than you know.
Plus, don't forget to drop 2 English words or phrases from today you want to remember. Best 30 seconds you'll spend for your English today.
And tell us where you're listening from if you haven't already.
Always.
Always.
All right, everyone. If today's episode helped your English, please subscribe to Learn English with Claire right now. Brand new episodes every single week. Real conversations, real vocabulary, real English that grows your confidence and your career.
And if you know someone who's learning English and trying to advance professionally, share this episode with them today. You might give them the exact language they've been searching for.
Thank you so much for being here with us today. Take these phrases, practice them out loud, say them in the mirror, record yourself saying them, because the only way they become natural is through repetition.
And every time you use one of these phrases in a real conversation, your confidence grows a little more, and that confidence compounds over time.
It really does. Your career deserves the best version of your English, and that's exactly what we're here to help you build.
I am Daniel.
And I am Claire. We will see you in the next one. Take care, everyone.